Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Adam. I want to make a quick presentation to you. Probably will take less than 5 minutes to get through this, but this is a mental cycle of beliefs and emotions that I've been witnessing in people and clients, specifically social media people, people who are on social media accounts, and people who are involved in business and trying to improve their career. So I wanted to make this quick, short, and I'm going to use some fancy dancy index note cards to kind of illustrate my point more so. So I see this a lot, and I want you to know that there is really five basic negative emotions, and I always talk about these. A lot of people will say, "Yeah, that's I don't need the basic stuff," and I go, "All right, you're gonna need it, and you're gonna see why at the end of this." But the five basic are anger, sadness, hurt, guilt, and fear. Okay, the sooner that you can get to the root causes of why you have these emotions or the first time you experience these emotions and process those, the faster you can get the higher level learnings. Okay. So I get a lot of people who are very successful in their lives, they're very successful in relationships, very successful in their church and in their spirituality and have a lot of money. And then they go, but I'm still an angry asshole who's sad all the time. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get to the first point. They're like, point in your life where you felt anger, you felt sadness, and they can't even process it because they have so much crap. They're so fragmented, they're so confused, and they don't meditate, they don't journal, and they don't ask themselves those hard questions like, when was the first time I got angry? When was the first time that this happened? Now, those are really crucial because they set up a history, a set of clues about how and why a person gets angry. And what we do in coaching sessions or in my Lazarus process, as I call it, what we do is we actually address those first moments and we focus upon those. So, why are those important? Well, you're going to see, and I'll loop that back here to the end because what I want to talk to you about is the fear of rejection and some of the nasty cycles that happens out of the fear of rejection. So, fear of rejection, nice little index card here. Okay. So fear rejection. Someone's afraid of being rejected. They walk up to a girl, they walk up to a business, handing a job. Hey, I want to take you on a date. Hey, maybe it's just going to school, right? Like the first time a kid goes to school, or we go to a new place, we start a new college. Like, I'm afraid of not fitting in. I'm afraid of not fitting in. And what does this create? And many times it creates a neediness for acceptance, right? And we've seen these people, they're very needy, they want to fit in. Maybe they're a new guy in the office and like, oh, that's cool. And then like you start noticing that like they start trying to dress like other people in the office or saying little catchphrases or the same words as other people in the office. And you're like, or they're outgoingly doing nice things. Maybe they bring breakfast for everybody. Oh, I just did this for you, because they're expecting some kind of reciprocation, right? It's almost like a social bribery. Like, I bought you breakfast burritos, so now we can be friends, And so they really conform, right? So in an unfair way towards themselves. So they get a neediness of acceptance. Now, what does neediness of acceptance, right? So let's go to neediness of acceptance. Neediness of acceptance. What does this do? Well, guess what? This really compromises who you are. This compromises who you are so you can fit in. Like, hey, I'm not going to talk about my politics. I'm not going to talk about my religion. I'm going to talk about where I'm from. I'm going to change my accent. Oh no, I wasn't born in a Spanish speaking only country. Like, oh no, this accent, no, this Italian accent, oh, this Hungarian accent, no, I'm American, man. I'm gonna talk American. So what is that? Well, guess what? Neediness of acceptance, right there. So we start compromising who we are so we can fit in, which leads to, and this is painful, what I say next. This is painful. I see this so much in people, and they don't even realize that they skim over it. And this is because the unconscious mind is trying to protect yourself from something you can't handle yet. Okay. So this is what this comes up, and it's the betrayal of their own uniqueness. Betrayal of their own uniqueness. You grew up in Valencia, Spain. You have an accent. You grew up in Budapest, Hungary. You were there. You know what it's like to live under a communist government. You know what it's like to live in Texas, right? You say words differently. You dress differently. You have different thoughts and beliefs. Why are you betraying who you are just so you can fit in? So what does this betrayal bring? And this is what's really, really nasty. This betrayal of self starts bringing in feelings and emotions of not deserving. Imposter syndrome is loosely linked to this, but feelings, there's my dog making some noise off camera. Sorry about that, guys. But regardless of my dog making noises, this is really important, is that when you start betraying yourself and who you really are, you start questioning who you really are. And then you start wondering if you really deserve that job, if you really deserve these friends, if God really loves you, if you're really a good Christian, if you're really a good Muslim, are you really good, whatever? Are you really good multi-level marketing salesperson if you're just compromising who you are and you really don't believe in the products? Right? We hear that shit, right? So when you start having feelings of not, feelings and emotions of not deserving, guess where that leads to? And this is massive. You'll see this in the law of attraction, which I'm a strong proponent for, and manifestation. If you have feelings of not deserving, guess what? You're attracting everything that you don't deserve, but don't feel worthy of receiving. This is where you attract the ideal partner in life, the ideal date, the ideal business deal, the ideal job, the ideal like signs from God. Because you feel like you don't deserve it, you reject it. And this is called self-sabotage. People self-sabotage again and again and again. Okay. So the self-sabotage happens. And all of a sudden, you're like, dude, I'm not deserving of that. So what does self-sabotage lead to? Well, now you're, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't do this. I can't do that. But because you have all this other junk we just talked about, guess what? It increases the amount of neediness to be accepted. And I hold that up really good. Increases the amount of neediness to be accepted. How? Why? Self-sabotage. That's why. Take a good look at it. If you're self-sabotaging yourself, it might be because you have a stronger need to be accepted because you didn't have it as a child. You didn't have it earlier in your life. You didn't get over that. You didn't have that original crew of friends that said, you matter. Or maybe you were picked on. Hey, I was been there. We've all been there. But guess what? Now it doesn't matter how it happened or why it happened. What matters is you need to get down to the brass tacks here. You got to get down to accepting yourself. And guess what? This cycle repeats. Because if you don't accept yourself, if you don't get over these many issues of each one of them, guess what? It's going to keep repeating. Now, why is it important to go over the 5 negative emotions? So I'll explain Gestalt therapy or timeline therapy, or as I like to call it, timeline dynamics, as it was taught by my mentor, is that when we first go back to the first moment of experiences in life, the first time we got angry, our memories of emotion are always built on the memory of that emotion. So what that means is if you can resolve the first time that you ever got angry, the second time that you got angry, it's going to decrease it or take it down to 0. And then you start realizing your whole life, you don't have to be angry anymore because it's all built upon this first memory of remembering what it's meant to you to either get something you didn't want or to get something you did want. And it upsets you as a child normally, usually between the ages of 2 and 3. So quick story. I had a gentleman who hit his parents were having a party and in the backyard, and he went around hitting people with the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger sword. And he's like, I'm having fun. Well, his mom came in, grabbed the sword and said, no, you can't do that. Spanked him on the bottom and took his sword away. Fast forward to 20 years later, he's angry at women who want to take away his masculinity. Penis, sword, do you see a correlation? And he's tired of women punishing him. Well, to make things matter, this person had fallen on some strange times career-wise and had to move back in with his parents. So guess what? Now he's resenting mother and he's resenting women. Do you think he's going to have a good relationship with women enough to date them? And if he does, it's going to be tough, right? So by decreasing the anger in that first traumatic moment, that significant emotional event of his life, which I would call a time of trauma. I mean, he's 2 years old. He's getting hit by a giant adult person. He's losing his favorite toy and I'm not powerful. There's a lot of stuff to unpack, and I let him speak to those and what they mean. Specifically what the meaning is, not the story, but what the meaning is. And because those emotions came down, he was able to handle things like this, specifically self-sabotage with women. Good to know. He's currently dating, and he's also doing pretty well with his business. So he actually got to go hang out with a world championship athletic type of mentor. I'll leave it at that. But I say that to you in this: if you do not manage these emotions of neediness, self-sabotage, compromising yourself to fit in, self-betrayal of who you really are, and then just repeating that cycle again and again, guess what? You're making a bigger emotional pain. And then also, if you're not resolving the 5 core negative emotions and really focusing on it, you're just going to make it bigger and bigger. And it's going to get worse and worse. And then you're going to be so caught up in all these negative emotions that you're actually going to be putting yourself in a hypnotic trance where all of a sudden you're like, no, anger keeps me strong. If I can get sad and depressed, that's really good. And you know what? People should fear me because I know how fear affects me. So if I just make everybody else more afraid of me, it'll be a better world. It'll be a better life for me. Right? I'm here to tell you, a lot of people do that and a lot of people believe that. But because they don't want to address those 5 negative emotions head on and directly and really understand them, they begin into a place of denial. And they try to protect themselves from those negative emotions. You'll see this from people who do I don't want to talk about this because I might cry. Cry. And also, if they don't want to cry with you, it might be because they don't trust you. But then also they might not want to cry because they don't trust themselves. And that's why having a good mentor, a good coach, a good instructor, someone like me that can go ahead and say, hey, let's talk about this in a session and let's process it. So go to impactfulchangeshypnosis.com. I'll talk about that stuff with you in a session if you really want to. But this right here, I want to go ahead and share this with you because be aware of where your thoughts are taking you. And you know what? Sometimes writing on an index card, it makes a lot of sense because you're like, okay, well, what does self-sabotage lead to? Well, it could be in a lot of different things. And I'm sure people leave comments and say like, no, that's not what it is for me. Well, great. I'm glad it's not for you, but something happens when you self-sabotage. Something happens when you betray yourself. And it goes into not deserving, not feeling worthy, and the law of attraction fails. It works no matter what. So you're always going to attract something. Might as well attract something good. And if you don't believe in the law of attraction, well, you might as well be thinking about something because it's your thoughts, it's your ideas, it's your mind, and that means you're in charge of its results. Sorry, there's no dodging it. No more victim shifting the blame to other people, okay? No more victims. We can take charge, all right? So be well, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.